something like that. But yeah, I just never really got into art, and wasn't really my thing. But when I went to Paris, I walked through the Louvre, like in the high school tour. It was like the high school French club. They said, hey, you can go to Paris. And my parents enrolled me in it, and good thing I did. Good thing I did it. So anybody else, you get a chance, go for it. Even me, check this out. I got stuck. It was me and a girl who lived across the street from me, and 9 adults. 9 adults. One of them was a school teacher. The other one was her boyfriend. And then there's all these other women, 7 women, who were from, the local area. And it's me and this guy were the only men. And I just kind of, when we had free time, I didn't have a drive to do anything, so I just kind of followed them around. I go to the market with them, because I really didn't know what to do. You can get lost so easily over there. But it was fun. And so if you can, I highly recommend it. Take a guided tour. Make sure it's completely guided. Don't ever give it so that you have free time or time to wander or get lost, because once you get lost, you get lost. It can be crazy. But yeah, you got to go over there. You got to check it out. And it's like, because this is how people live. This is how people live in another civilized country that's not America. See, that's something else. That's a real consciousness awakening aspect of travel. Is that you interact with people and you see life in the world from their point of view. It's like how people basically create their society, create the civilization they live in, is the cities, the streets. And this is kind of something you can see in Band of Brothers, and also like other movies where they feature just the countryside, like the Bourne Identity, Bourne Supremacy, or like they look around the culture, and in the cities of like Europe, sorry, I get a crazy explosion of ideas in my head. It's like even with James Bond movies, whenever they show the cityscapes. So like, basically what I'm quoting movies as reference source material for my explanation of what society is like, how people live day to day. And I'm using those types of movies where there's crowds of people, because normally, yeah, there's a larger crowd than what you would normally see in that circumstance, but basically that's how life is like. That's that's what life looks like. So you can, that's the beauty about this modern age, is that we can now judge what society is going to look like and live like based on what time period you grew in. And we're doing that, that's why like when you see village scenes, or like when Rome, that's why I love Rome, because Rome shows you society. Rome shows you just how everybody's living on top of each other. It's like I'm a sociological kind of geek, that's what I love about, certain types of stories. If it's about a group of people, about a society, I like to see how is that society ordered, and that's also why I like strategy games. So that's like, playing video games, strategy games, where it's just like an exploration of like, this is how you form society. I really dig it. That's why I like stuff like Civilization and those other sims. Just, if I can be a general and I can control things, yes, Rome Total War. And that's why I'm going to get Medieval, 2 Total War. Because just, oh man, this bomb strategy games. Like, you're especially with Rome Total War, you are the living god general of Rome. You lead your men, traipsing around. You're conquering as you go. It's like, it's so brilliant, so beautiful. Anyways, but what I'm saying is, just, I really dig that stuff. That's really cool in my book. What I'm getting back or talking about was, this idea that this is what society looks like, and that's why, if you can, go tour. Tour Canada, tour Mexico, tour Japan, tour Hawaii, even tour Alaska, tour Europe. Heck, go through Russia. Go to Russia. See the Ruskies, who were the venerable enemies of our civilization. See how they lived. These people who are like, these are supposed to be our these people are supposed to be the antithesis to the American. You realize that's what propaganda it's carried out in the movies. Movies supported these ideas, or supported the government in all these ways, and that it's just to live in this society is to live under an dictator's rule, where anything you say can be done is you'll be shot if you contradict. So imagine that, the total opposite of what democracy is. So that's what I'm saying. Is like that would be neat to go there and talk to somebody and just ask them like, well, what's it like to live there? And they said there's a guy in my college he was Japanese, but he was a Russian history professor. So he really knew Russian history, and he's teaching Western history. And his name was Hasegawa, Dr. Hasegawa, and just had a thick accent. So it took you a while just to get his accent down for you to understand what the guy was saying. So this is my plug for going to college, by the way, because he's neat professors, just like and it's like the guy speaking is like, now when you teach, no, it's like, and what is the unifying principle? It was nationalism. So it's like, yeah, I mean the Fu Manchu, but like very deep accent, and speaking to a broad audience, and it's amazing. It's neat. It's neat that we have this intelligent, absolutely intelligent man, this brilliant man, and we're forcing him to come to America to teach, the local student body about stuff that, and this is stuff that interests him. He got into history, but he had to specialize probably in Russian history because, well, you need some of those historians, and sometimes it's neat history. So there's there's stuff. That's what I'm saying. There's stuff about history that I'm interested in. That's like the sociological aspect. So I guess I'm more of an anthropologist. That's why I also dug anthropology, because you're looking at how the people live in the society. So when the guy, when Professor Napoleon Chagnon goes down to Brazil and Venezuela and checks out like the Yanomamo Indians. So I've been out of college for 6 years, so it's a good thing I can still remember this sort of stuff, right? But he gets down there and he's just, he's chilling with the Indians. He doesn't say if he takes their hallucinogenic drugs, which apparently makes the snot run out of your nose big time. But he says he lives them and he films them every once in a while too, especially when they start getting into it. So like the axe fight, and it's like, these two guys they were getting upset. They live in these little family groups, so it's basically these epic struggles, but they're at the familial level. People just get tired of each other, so they start wailing axes at each other. And everybody's crowded around him, involved in the argument, and it's luckily one of the women grabs the axe, twists the head around, so it's just a blunt edge, and that's when the guy hits him on the head. So it's like, geez, it's like barely maintained, not getting bloodshed, like man, and just gnarly stuff. But that's what I dig. I dig that stuff. That's like that's neat in my opinion. So that's why I'm a nerd. That's why I want to do a show called History Nerds. And it's just me and a group of guys, we just sit together and we just talk about history, and especially like just little quirks and stuff like that. Because I would like to say, because I would like to look at, go through all times of periods. So there's more than one show involved in this idea too. That's the other thing. Like people have gimmick shows. It's only good for one, episode when you think about it. In some cases, but a really good show is the show that has continuing potential. So that's what when History Channel started doing their shows, they were kind of going a little goofy here and there, and some of them, like with Arlie Army's Mail Call, they kind of thought, well, this will be a one-hit wonder kind of show. And I think they did the same thing with, not Bob Woodward, or was it Bob Woodward? There's this guy, he's an actor, he's a bald-headed actor, but he's this British or New Zealand actor, but he's intense, too. He's cool. And he's a sword fighter. He was, you can IMDb this, imdb.com. Great website, by the way, because I like looking at I like going to IMDb to check out, in particular, the like the background information or notes or like quirks, and like there's anachronisms or like oops moments, or like when the boom mic's visible, and then there's another thing which is it's kind of like on the DVDs how there's the commentary. So there's it talks about all the different things that went on in the movie.